Darlings, just a little heads up. The first 2 or so minutes of this video have some lightning flashes in it. So for all my epileptic doll faces and my people with a low seizure threshold, any conditions pertaining to that, you will know when to look back at the video because I will say, hey, cherry pies. And that means that the erratic flashing has stopped. Okay. This is the last truly romantic moment I had with myself. And it was less than 3 days ago at the time of uploading this video. So I try and pack in as much romance as I possibly can with me. And I try to remember that even though there is no special person that I can share this with, you know, romantic partner, someone like that I can be close with and, you know, just really absorb the storm with them. It doesn't matter. I am close with me. I will absorb the storm with myself and enjoy the moment for myself. And nothing is lessened as the result of not having someone there who is in love with me or falling in love with me. And I think this time of being single is really teaching me to fall back in love with myself, not only to respect and accept and appreciate myself, but also to be fascinated by myself, to be intricately desirous of my own perceptions and noticing my responses to the experiences I'm having and asking myself pertinent questions and then being impressed by the answers to those questions, just as I would with a date, just as I would with someone I'm in love with. So this has been a really big self-love exploration for me. And lying there on the couch in my living room, looking out at the sheet lightning, listening to the rain and just having this experience of high quality solitude and just really being with myself, appreciating me, giving myself access to that wonderful thing without yearning for someone to be there with me, experiencing it with me. That's something I want people to have more of. I wish more people would have more of that. I think that's really exceptional. And I think it's part of the process of being alive that makes it so tasty, so exciting, and you're worthy of it. I want you to know that you're worthy of it. Whether you have a partner or you don't have a partner, it doesn't matter. We still should, you know, have these moments with ourselves. So this is a little window into my last date with me. Hey cherry pies, thank you for joining me for this video. As many of you will know, during the month of September, I like to dedicate the time to thinking about self-love. I sort of assess where I am with self-love, what has been improving, what I've learned since the previous September. So it's kind of like taking stock, I'm taking inventory, and I'm also thinking about what needs to improve. Where are the problem areas with self-love? How could I do better? How could I reach for more and kind of integrate my understanding of what self-love is more? So that's what I tend to do during this month. And I've had various different stages with it. Some years it's more like I'm encouraging a movement and I'm encouraging other people to really speak on what it's like for them and how they feel about things. Other times it is much more personal and I kind of go very inward and talk a lot about my own personal experiences. Sometimes it's been a mixture of the two. I've been doing it since 2014. So this year, because of everything going on in my life and stuff like that, I'm definitely taking massively personal stock in a public way, and that's what the videos are going to be about. But of course, I always encourage anyone who's watching these videos to think about how this might apply to them, how they can consider some of the things I've been going through or thinking about or learning, and how they can put that into their own lives. And if you're watching this and you do have a partner or multiple partners, or you're seeing people or whatever, please don't think that you can't use any of these considerations or suggestions for yourself, because I think it's always healthy to have another tab open in the mind where we are always having a relationship with ourselves. And during the course of this video, I'm definitely going to talk a lot about how that applies to me as someone who is really firmly in my singledom and not looking to be out of it necessarily. But I think when I am in partnership with someone romantically, I still try to always consider that I'm having a relationship with myself, and I want to honor that and I want to respect that. I never want to lose myself completely in somebody else. And I find that when that has happened in the past, it's been deeply unhealthy for me. And so I always try to consider a lot of these things even when I am in partnership. But I will say that being single and being consciously single and not looking has led me to fast tracking a lot of these ideas that I'm going to talk about in this video for sure. And that's been really helpful, and that's been really needed for me. So, okay, I have been officially single since the beginning of 2020, but really unofficially single since mid-2021, so just over a year now. So on paper, according to friends, family, and everyone who knows me, I broke up with my last partner at the very beginning of 2020 after a very tumultuous, very unfair, very intense, very weird year, which left me quite emotionally ravaged, frankly. It left me changed and not in a good way. And that is not typical of my romantic relationships. I would say that I've had a really nice track record and really decent experiences in relationships. The last one was different. And I don't want to start this video out by lying to you and making out that I chose to be single for some other reason. No, I chose to be single after this last connection because the connection itself was damaging in a number of ways and left me feeling fucking discombobulated and upside down and inside out and didn't know what way was up, and I needed to come back to myself, and it was evidently an urgent need that I had to come back to myself after this. So I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of that because that's private, and I don't think it would necessarily be useful to anyone for me to speak on that publicly, at least not right now. So that won't be happening. But what I can tell you is that I definitely came out of a difficult relationship. It was an official relationship, and then for a while after that it was an unofficial thing, and just not good, not a great experience for me. Someone asked me, a friend of mine asked me at a party a few weeks ago, why I was happily single and not looking. And I was just like, look, I'm just going to level with you. The last relationship was a shit show. Okay. It was a trash fire. It was a circus. And it was really just deeply unhealthy for me and unfair on me. So, and I felt like that was very liberating and quite a self-loving thing to be able to say, it's not for any other reason than that. This is not some grand experiment. I mean, it has turned into a really interesting experiment, but it's also just the case that I needed this. I don't want to make my healing over that into somebody else's problem. I do not want to bring somebody else into that. I do not want to risk failing to compartmentalize between what was my former relationship and the pain that I've experienced from that and what is my new relationship and whatever might be going on there. And I think it's really easy to blur the line, right? When you've had a difficult experience romantically and you've got a lot to unpack and a lot to go through and work with, I think it's very, very easy to be unable to differentiate between a problem that you might be having in your current relationship that needs to be discussed and needs to be gone through, and the reverberations that are happening over here from memories from the past relationship. And I definitely do not trust in my ability to be able to read what is current and what is past. And because of that, I think for me and also for any potential romantic partner that I would have, it's not fair for them. It's not fair for me. It wouldn't be a good time. And I think that is the first thing I really want to say in this video, is that is a very self-loving thing that I did for me. I acknowledge that it's not a good time to embark on something. And I definitely think that's going to be the case for a while. I look back now at that last relationship that I had, and I'm actually pretty scared, on a number of levels, about some of the things that happened, some of the things I went through emotionally. It kind of freaks me out now looking back on it. And I definitely think I had to go through a process of awakening about exactly what that relationship was, what was happening in it, and the role that I played in it, and how I allowed certain things to continue as well, and why that might have been. I definitely did go through an awakening. I definitely think that the second time that I connected with this person and we sort of entangled, it was necessary, even though it was incredibly painful, because essentially that took me from the belief that it was the right person at the wrong time all the way to the belief that this person is damaging and that it's time to get the fuck out. It was a very night and day awakening. And I do think that's sometimes why we put ourselves through the ringer again. I don't think we can see it at the time, but I think after we've had the true awakening to certain realities, we can say, oh, okay, you know what? I couldn't figure that out before. And so maybe that's part of the reason I should at least be grateful, in a way, for what it led me to, which was, high quality solitude, solo living, you know, attempting to grapple with what comes up when you are single. And also a lot of stuff to heal, a lot of stuff to examine, stuff that actually I found had roots that were much older than that relationship itself. And those roots were very tender and very raw and very vibraty. It's just that no one had touched on them before. They definitely were there to be healed, you know, stuff from childhood, stuff about my relationship with my parents, all that kind of thing. It definitely linked to some older shit, and it brought up that older shit as well. So it's not as if I'm just healing from this last relationship, which I still am in a way, and I think it will be a while longer, but I'm much better than I was. But it's also given me an opportunity to sit with some things that definitely were still active in my psyche, but just hadn't been triggered, pushed, you know, they hadn't been enlivened. And when they were enlivened, it was agony. It was agony for me, okay? Like, it was absolutely excruciating. It was nigh on fucking intolerable. And you can imagine with the stuff that's been piled on top this year, with my bereavement and everything, that it's slowed down that healing process somewhat. But I think one of the things about healing is that it's an incredible opportunity to witness your love for yourself. And I think that's one thing at least that has happened, is that I have very much been my own friend, my own ally, and I'm really supportive of myself in this exploration. I want to be really supportive of myself in this journey. And I think that's been really nice to see in myself, is that I've had that ability despite everything. I honour myself for that, guys. I honour myself for that. Yes. Good job, Kellyanne. Yes, Kellyanne, well done. So, my loves, full transparency, because you know you can rely on me for that. Full transparency, okay? I love being in love. I love romantic love. I'm very good at romantic love, okay? I'm good at the present giving. I'm good at the letter writing. I'm good at the considering the other person. I'm good at the physical stuff. I love it all. I love it all. I'm here for it. I romanticized it long before I ever had it. And it's a thing for me that I really appreciate about life. I've also had a lot of romantic love. I've had several really significant, very committed, very beautiful, very enriching romantic connections. I'm grateful for the love that I've been in and the love that I've felt. I'm grateful grapefruit, as Björk once put it. So yes, I'm super lucky for all of that. As a result of that, though, obviously being single has had its moments of being really painful for me, and really like, ow, I miss that. I miss that feeling. I miss that thing. I love that feeling. And I've had to explore that. And that's been part of my self-love journey, is exploring that and being intrigued by that and asking myself, what is good about being single? What is great about being single? One thing that I would say it's very good to do is to quiz people in your life who seem happy being single and say that they're happy being single, and ask them to engage with you about like why that is. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then you can go online and look at the blogs people have written about it and the videos people have made about it. People that actually really see the significant positivity in being single for a decent stretch of time, they will be able to explain to you how it is a gateway to certain deep forms of self-love and self-actualization, and how it can be a great thing. And so I definitely did that. I have this one friend who was single for the majority of his 20s. I'm pretty sure like all of his 20s. No, the majority of his 20s. And I spoke to him like early on in this situation about stuff. And because I know that he felt like his single life and his time being single was really positive, and he doesn't regret it at all. You know, usually in your 20s, you're getting into those first really like rip-roaring, serious, top shelf romantic situations. If you didn't experience one in your teens, which I did twice. I told you I loved romantic love, okay? Don't judge me. I love it. I loved it from early. But yeah, I spoke to him. It was really interesting. He explained to me about his feelings about being single for all that time, festivaling with friends as a single person, not looking, just having fun, and just like interacting if he wanted to and not if he didn't, and not feeling any pressure or any expectation that anything was going to happen with anyone. And that was really liberating for me. I also spoke to a friend of mine who has never had a partner the whole time I've known them, and has always professed to me throughout the friendship that they're not looking for that. It wouldn't be good for them. They don't feel like they want it. And I spoke to them as well, and they explained to me like some of their reasoning and why they think it's been good and how it's helped them focus on career stuff, and how, you know, how they have explored romantic energy in other ways. That really resonated with me. Those chats were really valuable. I also did do some looking online to see, you know, what people felt they benefited from in being single. And I know some people will be watching this and they'll be like, why is this such a big deal? I've been single for X amount of time, or I've been single lots of times, and this really just shouldn't be something that you should need to look into. It's not that deep. For me, it was that deep, okay? Like, and it's self-loving to profess that as well. It's self-loving to be honest with yourself about what you feel tends to have enlivened you in your life and what's brought value and meaning to your life. And there are so many things that have brought value and meaning to my life, but one of the key factors has been romantic love, you know? And so for me, I definitely needed to get into the single zone and actually figure out, what do I love about this? You know, what is there to really enjoy about it? So I want to talk about a few things that I think have come to mind for me as I've been going through these explorations. First thing is, and this is something that came up for me quite early, like literally as soon as I officially broke up from the last person I was in partnership with, I started to plan a few things. I started to plan to go and see some friends and go to some gigs and do different things, right? And I started to plan things all over the country that I live in, and a little bit outside of the country I live in as well, visiting with various people and doing stuff. This was before the big pandemic situation occurred. And unfortunately for me, I really did not have much time to execute these plans at all. It was like we broke up at the end of 2019, and then by February 2020 everybody knew what coronavirus meant. So it was very short-lived. Okay, a lot of these plans did not happen. A lot of tickets were refunded. A lot of shit just didn't happen. Okay, but that feeling in those first couple of months of planning things was really interesting for me, because when I'm with somebody in a romantic partnership, I'm not the type to only do things with them. I'm definitely not, you know, attached at the hip to them. I can go and do things with other people, and I think it's healthy to do that. However, when you're in a romantic partnership, let's face it, a lot of the time you do check if your romantic partner wants to go to something, or if they do want to go to something, then it's a case of like, when are they working in comparison to when you're working? Are they going to drive to it, or do they want to have a drink maybe, and so we're going to get the train? You know, what do you want to do as well, basically? You're considering this other person, you're factoring this other person in if you would like them to go with you, or if you're opening up the invitation to them. It's really liberating to be able to just look at your own schedule and have no sense of anybody else that you have to factor in, you know, apart from the people you're going to see and do things with, or if you're going to do things solo, which I enjoy to do, you know, and not having to think about someone that you have invited or whom you would like to be there. So for me, that was very cool. I thought to myself, I'm getting a lift from this. I'm feeling elevated from this freedom. This is nice. This is a self-loving thing, to be able to just focus on my schedule and what I'm capable of doing, and not have to worry about anyone else, or be sad that I'm away from anyone else for any length of time necessarily. Not that I don't feel sad being away from friends, but it's different, you know. There's a reason that we differentiate between a romantic and a platonic relationship, and I think that's one of the differences, is you do get this like deep yearning. You want to connect physically. If you connect physically, you need to spend the quality time, you know, looking into each other's eyeballs, you know, if that's what you do. So without that, even though I was very brokenhearted and I just felt like I'd come out of an emotional tumble dryer. I was everywhere, you know. I felt like, this is a nice thing. This is something good. And also, I think in tandem with that, it made me realize that I could go deeper into my geekery and my nerdery, because I didn't have to compromise on time. So first of all, I could do more things with my friends, because like most people don't have an endless pot of time and an endless pot of money per week or per month or per year, you know. You have your time off work, you have the money that you have to do things with, you know, the excess income that you have, and you have to decide what to do with that. If you're in romantic partnership, the majority of things you're going to want to plan with the quality time are going to involve your romantic partner in some way, even if there are also going to be other people there, because you're building something with this person. You want to spend lots of time with this person. So often you end up compromising. Like lots of people, for example, wouldn't go on a holiday with the girls or a holiday with like a group of people that they do their geeky thing with, because they only have a set amount of time, set amount of money, and they would like to prioritize a holiday with their partner. So for me, it was really awesome not to have to compromise on that. And also I ended up doing a lot more like small solo expeditions that are kind of geeky and nerdy and wouldn't interest my partner whatsoever. They barely interest anyone in my life whatsoever. They're just very nerdy, like the pilgrimage to Walsingham that I took you guys along for. And if you want to see my pilgrimage to Walsingham, if you want to witness the deep religiosity of a chaos witch, I'll leave the video down below for you. You can go on a 1.5 hour expedition with me to an important shrine. So, you know, things like that, I don't know if I would have planned if I was still with this person. I'm not sure, because it's really geeky and it's really specific. And when you've got that chunk of time that you make, it's nice to make chunks of time just for yourself or just with your friends. But let's be realistic. As I mentioned, like, the time is not endless, the money is not endless. You have to think about what is important. And if you've prioritized someone to the extent where you refer to them as your romantic partner and you're investing in them in that way, yeah, a lot of the time is going to be spent with them, and it's going to be a compromise in terms of what you spend the time doing, and you're going to negotiate with that person on what they find interesting to do and what they enjoy. None of that with single life, okay? So I definitely very much taught myself to see that as a plus, and it has been. And long may it continue to be, darlings. I've always been someone who advocates for listening to your own opinions, understanding what you think about things, not necessarily always having to check in with someone else about what the next decision is going to be or what your views are on something, you know? And I think that for me, and I think for a lot of people, we do a lot less of that communication, because when we're in a romantic partnership, we do a lot less of that self-communication, because the romantic partners, whatever, if you're poly, they are a default person for you to go to with your views on things, with the changes in your views on things, with what you think about art, politics, things that have happened in current affairs. Like, you know, often you don't even think about whether or not you want their opinion or whether you're ready yet to share your opinion. You do it as a default. You know, when you're in a romantic connection, you very often say hello to each other in the morning. You check in with each other during the day. You vent about work or study or child rearing or whatever with that person. You usually find they're the last person that you speak to at night, right? So without all of that, when you take all of that out of the equation, you're left with this really interesting pocket of time and space where you can say to yourself, do I want to go to somebody with that? Do I necessarily care for a second opinion? Am I ready to share my opinion? Is my opinion baked enough yet to actually present to someone? I think when I'm in romantic partnership, what I've realised is I just share by default. They're a person that I go to do that sharing. I'm not saying you can't do that sharing with others, but I think it's less automatic. It's less of a default thing that you do, right? So instead, I can take the conversation back to me, and I really enjoy that I can do that so much better now. I do that in a more high quality way than I ever did before. I also think because you don't have that default person, you get to be selective about like who you go to instead if you want to go to someone, and that means you get to understand your friends better and spend more time really emphasizing those connections, putting into those connections, appreciating those connections. Again, I am so not saying that I didn't do this when I wasn't single. I'm saying I've got more energy, more time, more intuition bending in that direction. You know, it's been really, really useful and beautiful because I love my friends and I want to get to know them really deeply, and I want to have more of those deep conversations, and I want to hold more space for them. And especially if the last relationship that you've been in was very draining and you put a lot of energy in for possibly not very much return on that investment whatsoever, or there was a lot of drama in the relationship, a lot of high intensity, and you were dealing with that a lot of the time, it is likely that some of your friendships became needy of your energy. You know, they were missing out on that energy. And so it's really nice to be able to have the time to put that in now as well. I think that's been really important. And it's like less of a default. You know, I said that with a romantic relationship, you default set to telling your partner whatever you might want to say, whatever you might want to share with someone. When you don't have that, there's no default setting. You choose who might be appropriate, or you think about who might be most interesting to speak to you about it, or who might have the most to advise you on with it, or whatever. And that means that you change up the energies that you have in your life, which is really precious. I think there's something really special about that as well. Long-winded rituals, long-winded study, long-winded reading, long-winded learning of things, excess hours perfecting something, absorbing yourself in something, dedicating yourself to something. The single life has been very, very good to me in this regard. Again, partly because I'm good at romantic love. Like, I am considerate, I am nurturing. I do want to do mutually beneficial things with my partner that bring us into closeness and bring us into intimacy. And, you know, I want to sow beautiful memories and stuff. Without that, there has been a lot more to put into my own pot. There has been a lot more for my own dedication and my own passion to things. It's been cool. It's been awesome. And maybe I'll talk in another video about some of the things I've been getting into and learning and letting myself have as the result of having that extra time and being able to be dedicated to other stuff instead. So I'm making it sound like all I did when I had partners was give to them and focus on them. And that's not the case. It's not the case. It's just that there's more, okay? I think anyone who's been single for any decent amount of time will say that that is the case. There is just an excess of time and energy. And I have been using it to do longer rituals, and I have been using it to learn the traditional Irish drum, and I have been using it to get back into my Russian language skills, and I have been using it to read up on feminist theory. Like, it's just things that I always thought, oh, I want a bit more time for that. Oh, I wish I could schedule that. Oh, why don't I prioritize that? You know, these things are happening a lot more now, chickens. They are. I'm not going to lie. And what is not self-loving about that? That is very self-loving. Yeah, I think in general, just more free time that doesn't have to be linked to some extent to what your romantic partner is doing, what they may need you to go to as well, like family birthdays and parties and anniversary stuff or weddings, or that's all taken out of the equation too. So you've just got to compromise your time a lot less. I've learned to really appreciate that and enjoy that. And yeah, I'm going to the gym more, you know, just like, it's just nice. And the other thing I want to say, a positive about being single, is that, like I said at the beginning, I don't think it would be fair to bring somebody in as a romantic partner while I'm doing the degree of healing that I'm doing from the previous relationship that I had. There has been a lot of healing around that. Many hours have been spent in therapy, consciously bringing myself to the work of unpicking and examining various different painful stitches in the tapestry of the last 3 years of my life, okay? And so I think it's easier to do that kind of healing, for sure, when you are not in romantic communion. The other thing, though, is that obviously I've experienced something mind-bendingly, life-trashingly difficult in March of this year, in losing my beloved baby brother, who I was extremely close to and who I will always love and turn to for guidance. It's been like excruciating. I'm very, very proud of myself for how I've been handling it, frankly. I think I marvel at myself now more than I ever have. And I also feel like it's really important to me right now that I don't have to consider somebody in the way that I would consider a romantic partner when it comes to time doing their things, time honouring their family commitments, you know, focusing in with them on when do we leave something, do we go to something at all, what kind of impression do I need to make? What kind of thing do I need to do? Do we need to take a present? Do we need to, like, what are we doing? You know, I don't need any of that right now. I need to bring all of my attention back to me. Now, in a good, healthy romantic connection, a romantic partner is going to appreciate when you go through something like a major bereavement, and they are going to pull back on the expectation that everything be equal. And they're going to pull back on expectation on you in general, of course. Of course they are. And I would have expected that in any romantic connection. There's no doubt. But the fact that I don't even have to feel guilty for asking for that. I don't even have to worry about the fact that I might feel guilty for asking for that. I don't need to worry about the timeline of my healing in relation to that, because it's just me. You know, I think that's been excellent. And the other thing I think it's helped me to do, sweetheart, is it's helped me to connect a lot with my brother's partner. Who obviously is going through the most excruciating time of her life. I know I always would have connected with her, and we always would have drawn to closeness over this. There's no doubt, because she was exceptionally important to him and I was exceptionally important to him. And so I knew there would be a lot of overlap, and I knew there would be a lot of love there. But what I don't know, and what I can't say for certain, is that I would have been giving her the time, the energy, the concentration that I have been giving to her. Because when you have a romantic partner and you go into major bereavement, of course you lean back onto them. If it's even a remotely functional and healthy relationship, you should be able to lean back onto them. So the fact that I didn't have that, and of course she didn't have that, was all the better for us. So I want to really honour that as a good reason for being single, or a thing that's good that's come out of it anyway. That was a big chunk of the video just about what's good about being single. There's more as well, but let me get into a few things that I've been making sure that I do for myself while I am single, because I do sometimes miss romantic love. I do feel a yearning and a longing sometimes for it. And so I want to talk about some things I've been doing self-lovingly to make sure that I don't dwell on that, and that I don't make decisions that, would take me off of the path that I know is best for me, So first of all, I recognise as often as possible that I'm living in a world where romantic love is elevated and lionized and glorified, and that it is idealized often, and that a lot of content in music and books and series and movies and stuff is geared towards romantic love and the pursuit of romantic love and the happy ending and the happy couple and all of that kind of thing. I've already worked a little bit on this in my relationship with structures in relationships themselves. So I've been in non-monogamous frameworks before. I'm polyamorous. What's the word for when you're both? I don't fucking know. I can't remember. But I switch. I can be monogamous, I can be polyamorous, I can have different feelings relating to different people at different times and stuff like that. But I have been in non-monogamous connections and stuff. So I've already had to look at the way society is steering me down a certain road that might not be best for me and might not reflect how I'm feeling or how I want to live. But this is a whole different level of that, where I have to witness how singledom is sometimes seen as the lesser form of living, and that there's something sad about it or something tragic about it. So I try and stay away from a lot of really romantic content when I'm feeling yearning, or I notice when romantic content is making me feel that I'm questioning my decision, or that being single is not okay anymore, and I want to find someone and I want to open up that doorway. I think noticing when I'm absorbing content that convinces me that the romantic connection is the ideal thing to have in life, noticing that and pulling back from it is self-loving. There's a lot of that around, so I think about what it's healthy for me to watch and what it's healthy for me to read, and thinking about absorbing more from the perspective that actually preaches the positives of being single, or is just about people for whom the romantic connection is not central or not important in the story. I think that's been a self-loving thing for me. I also personally think about what it means to be a good example of someone who is single and happy. Like at the beginning of my journey with being single, people who were single and happy were really fucking useful to me, and they made me feel enlivened by the experience that I was going into. And so now I think about being that person for others as well, which I guess is partly what this video is about in a way. I think about how I'm enhanced by single life and what I'm doing with my time being single. And actually recently I kind of felt a few days of this very intense yearning for a deeply romantic connection, and the yearning to fall in love, and all of the biochemistry that brings up, and the joy that brings up and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, am I falling out of love with being single? Am I wanting something? And then I kind of thought to myself, you know what? I haven't even begun to effectively use my single life yet. I haven't used it enough. I haven't taken advantage enough of being single and everything that means. And that kind of drew me back into the neutral state about it. I'll be completely honest, darlings. I went through a big chunk of my life not really believing people who said that they were single and happy. Maybe I believed them if it was a very short-term singledom. But I never believed my friends who'd been single for years, who were like, yeah, I want to be single. I might sleep with someone sometimes, or I might, have a nice thing with somebody, but essentially I want to be single. I never believed people who said like, I don't want anything with anyone. I'm just enjoying my life, you know. I would low-key have a room open in my head where that was not believed. And I would think, come on, life's always happier when you're in love. Come on, romantic love is the pinnacle though. It is the pinnacle. I really would think like that. And I was never really conscious of how fucked up that was. And it doesn't surprise me, again, because of the way that society drives us and media drives us. And of course, there's a lot to be said for romantic love. And that's why it does feature so heavily in stories, in books and films and discussions and stuff. That's why it is a pursuit for a lot of people. There is a lot to be said for it. But for God's sake, it's not the pinnacle of human experience. There are many, many things that could formulate the pinnacle of human experience for you in your life. So for me, it also took to unpack that part of me in the past that would sort of look at someone a bit like, okay, fair enough, if that's what you say, you know, when they would say that they were perfectly happy being single and there was something really blissful about it and something really enlivening about it and they wanted to carry on that way. So there's been also a little bit of reshaping of my soul around this, recognizing that I was not trying to understand an experience that I wasn't having. And isn't that so central to the human condition that we often bypass the desire to understand something that isn't our way of thinking and isn't our way of doing things. And so I had to reflect on that and say, you know what, I actually have not believed fully, really, in my core, that someone could be truly happy single for a long time. And I'm not saying that a year is a long time, or, you know, 2 years officially I've been single, but I don't really see it that way. I see it as like, I take it from the last time I saw this last person, you know, the last day that I saw them, in fact, is where I would emotionally time my singledom from. So just over a year now. I'm not saying that it's a long time. I'm not saying that. But for me, of course, it has been, and I want to continue on being single. So I had to really look at like, oh, wow, I've really doubted on some level that that's people's experience. And now it's an experience that I'm having for the most part. Another thing that I've done that I think is really self-loving is I have allowed other people to miss having a romantic relationship. I know that sounds really weird because people can do what they want and feel what they want, obviously. But what I mean is, like, I've definitely seen people that are single really being very vehement when somebody else says, oh, I don't like being single, you know, I miss having a partnership, or I want to get back with that last person, or I miss this about being in a relationship, I desire this about being in a relationship. Some people are kind of militantly single, and they will make a point of being like, I'm going to list all the reasons why this is the best way. And, you know, I don't do that. I try to let people be where they are, you know, and I try not to let it make me go into the yearning state. So I recognize when someone else is having a moment of actually missing romantic love, wishing they had romantic love, and I hear them and I hold space for that. And at the same time, I recognize when that might be sort of like rubbing off on me, and I think to myself, that's not mine. That's not mine. For me, there are plenty of good reasons why this is the best thing for me. And for me, and for them, they're in a different position. That's not their feeling right now, and that's okay. But I don't have to mix these two things up, and I won't mix these two things up. I will continue to be happy with the decision that I've made and with where things are going for me. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the next thing that I will say that I've definitely done that I think is self-loving, which is that I allow myself to miss having a relationship. I think that that's another way in which someone can become militantly, vehemently single, is that they will scrub out any notion that they have that they miss romantic love, and they will like shake themselves out of it and be like, no, I don't feel that way, no. And it's like, well, I do sometimes though, and that's okay. You know, I understand what the benefits and the beauty of romantic love are because I've experienced them. And so, of course, I'm going to miss that sometimes. And of course, sometimes it will be because of content that I'm consuming. And I will try to be very conscious of that and pull away from that if I need to, because there's no need for me to consume content about romantic love if it's making me feel crappy about being single. There's lots of things to consume. There's lots of content. There's lots of things to learn. There's lots of movies to watch. You know, you don't have to expose yourself to something that is really lionizing of romantic love and really celebrates it. If you find that that's making you really yearn for something that you know is not best for you right now, just turn it off. Just walk away. Just stop reading it. Just go and consume something else. You know, there's plenty to choose from. So when I am having a moment where I'm yearning and I'm sad and I'm like, oh, I really want that, I let myself feel that way. I sit with the discomfort of that moment. And I just recognize that that's part of it too. Sometimes it's because I want someone to do something for me that only a romantic partner could, you know, be it physically or emotionally. You know, sometimes it's because I want a type of security that you feel from having a romantic partner. Again, that's something that can only be provided by that kind of connection. And I witness that and I recognize that, and I think about what I can do for myself instead, or what kind of connection I can have with a friend or loved one instead, you know, or something that I can do in terms of reaching out online, putting a message out online that creates that connection and gives somebody that beautiful feeling. Because a lot of the time for me as well, a reason that I miss romantic love is because I miss nurturing someone so deeply, all the way to the core, all the way to the foundation of who they are. And that's the default for me in romantic love, is like, I'm a nurturer, I'm a giver, I'm a recovering overgiver. You know, and unpacking all of that has made me realize like how much good I can do in the world from wanting to give and nurture, not from wanting to overgive, not from wanting to give to excess to the point where I'm bereft, you know, not that. But I do have a lot of nurturing to give. I am very Queen of Cups. I do want to nurture. I am madly compassionate. And I feel good when I do that, and it feels like a mutually beneficial thing. It's not just an egoic thing. It's good for the person I'm doing it for too. And so I've thought about how I can witness that desire and reroute it into what I'm doing online, reroute it into my client connections, reroute it towards friends that need it, reroute it towards the planet, towards the things, the causes that I care about, you know? So that's been really fruitful, and I think has really expanded my soul. I think it's obvious that sometimes you will miss having a romantic connection at certain times, you know. For some people it's going to be Christmas or you know, some kind of other event like that is culturally recognized, where lots of people get together. And for some people it's going to be the stroke of midnight at New Year, you know, missing that romantic kiss, missing having that moment with somebody. It's going to be that. For other people it's going to be something like being invited to a wedding, being invited to a dinner party where everybody else is coupled up, realizing that you're at a picnic or an event with a bunch of people that are all in couples and you're the only person not in a couple, you know. I think that it's normal and natural that you're going to miss having a romantic partner at times like that. And again, I try and like allow that to be a part of the process. I think pushing it out for me is just going to cause more issues, and it's going to make me want to run back into it when I know that that's not right for me. So I try and also recognize, like, okay, is this because of content that I'm consuming? Is this because somebody else around me is missing having romantic love? Or maybe they're talking about their partnership and they're really getting excited about it, and I'm feeling some type of way? Or is it because it's a specific time of year? You know, is it like Valentine's Day? Is it, am I going to some event and I want to be there with a romantic partner? So I try and witness what exactly is going on, instead of just taking it as a given that it is the truth that I should have a romantic connection and I miss having that, you know, because it's usually much more complex than that. And it's usually something that I can come to and bring my consciousness to and say, oh yeah, okay, that's probably why it is then. And that's okay. I'm allowed to feel that, whilst at the same time feeling that this is ultimately the best thing for me. The final thing that I want to talk about in this video, darlings, is I want to talk about dates with yourself. I want to talk about, and this is something that will be useful for anyone, whether you are like married for a long time, or you have multiple partners, or you're looking for love, or whatever. Everyone can stand to go on dates with themselves. Everyone can stand to have that high quality time where you are listening to yourself, you're celebrating yourself, you're going where you want to go and doing something exciting and fresh, and like checking in with yourself on that, you know, enjoying your own sense of humor and your own sense of like passion or whatever. I think everyone should do that all the time, whether they're in couples or not. For me, being single has really brought that up. It's elevated my ability to be able to do that, which is exciting. I love going on dates with myself. And that's something that I implemented from the first moment that I realized that I was like not with somebody, and not having to consider them, and not doing things that also thrilled them, or, you know, like flicked their switch, you know. It's just me. I get to go on a date with me. I always had like a little date with myself every now and again, even when I was in relationships. And it would usually be something really sweet and simple, because I don't think dates have to be grand and complicated. One of my favourite dates ever to do with myself is to get a cup of chips and walk down the beach. And for those of you on the other side of the pond, chips means fries, okay? A cup of like traditional English chip shop chips, and walk down the beach and just like watch the tide and listen to some music in my headphones. I love that. And I've always tried to keep that with myself when I've had partners. I've always done that. Or like before I moved to the sea, it would have been like go for a walk in the forest and like eat something, or go to a cafe and have a pastry and a coffee or whatever. Like I always try and do that. But things have become a little bit more grand since I've been single as well. So not tons of money necessarily, but things that I would usually do with a romantic partner, I do with me. So going and taking a class in something, for example, like something completely new, that's kind of challenging or different or whatever, that's been happening a lot, especially with things that are going on at the gym. I tend to do that. I find that a really nice date with myself, you know. Yeah, I took myself on a spa day. I mean, I guess usually I would do that with a friend. I don't know, but I never have. I've never done it with anyone. Well, I did it with my mum for her hen do, but like other than that, I'm not really a big spa person. And it turns out I've turned into a spa person now as the result of trying to figure out good dates to go on with myself. I've been on a picnic with myself. I've gone to a museum with myself, you know, this kind of thing. So that is intriguing to do. That is something that I do a lot more now, and I can highly recommend it. I haven't been to the cinema by myself yet. That's the only thing that I've actually never done by myself that you usually would do with a romantic partner. I haven't been to the pictures with myself, so that's something I should do. I don't know why I have a particular resistance to that, but I think if I have a resistance to it, it means I should probably do it. Yes. You know those dates where you just go exploring? You just go and explore a town that neither of you have been to, you know? You go and sort of experience something together, that you walk around the streets and just have a look at little boutiques and artisan shops and wander into a cafe that you had no idea was there, or, you know, whatever. Like that kind of thing I love doing with myself. And I think having this time of being single means that I've done that a lot more, which is really cool. And it means that I will do that in the future when I do have a partner again. I will totally just be like, you know, I will compromise less with the free time that I have by thinking, oh, but how do I fit the partner in? When am I going to see the partner? It's like, do you know what? If they're the right partner for me, they'll be the type of partner that likes to explore by themselves too, so it'll be fine. They're not going to expect that, you know. The thing about going on dates with yourself, though, is you do have to go on them. I don't know if I'm calling anyone out here, but like put them in your calendar, make them into a thing, look forward to them, think about what you're going to wear depending on what it is that you're doing. You know, like get excited about how the day is going to go. Visualize it in your mind the same way you do when you're going to go on a romantic date. You do have to kind of commit to it. I think a lot of dates with oneself go like into fantasy mode and kind of dissolve in the rain of reality, because we think that'd be nice. I should do that sometime. Maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe I'll do that on my day off. And it's all maybe, that would be nice. That would be nice. You have to do it. You have to commit to it. You have to commit to it like you would commit to someone you're in romantic love with that you really care about, or you want to know if you could be in romantic love with them and you want to try it, you know. You've got to commit, baby. Before I go on a date with someone, I'm always like, oh, what could happen? What might we talk about? What might we eat? Do we want to eat, you know? And I try and do all of that on the date, like planning the date with myself. I'm like, oh, what could I wear? Oh, maybe I could try and, you know, do that. Or maybe I'll think about that and talk to myself about that kind of thing. There's going to be at least one person watching this who's going to be like, what are you talking about? What the devil are you rabbiting on about, darling? But honestly, it's good. It's good times. Trust me. I like those dates as well where you stay in and you have a film night and you get snacks, and I love doing that with myself now. I love it. And also I can watch back-to-back period dramas, because a period drama is a very specific thing, okay? You either want a period drama or you fucking don't. There's no in between. I don't think someone can be kind of in the mood for a period drama. It's like a sci-fi. I don't think you can kind of be in the mood for that genre. You're either going into that genre balls deep or you're not, you know? And I love me some fucking period dramas. So it's nice to be able to have a date with myself where I sit in and get some snacks and put a hair mask on and watch Sense and Sensibility without feeling like the person I'm watching it with is like, I don't really want to watch Colonel Brandon wooing Marianne. It's like, well, you're not here because you don't exist. It's just me, Kate Winslet, and Alan Rickman. Yes, please. All right, darlings, these have been some of my thoughts and feelings about being single and doing so in a self-loving way. I would love to hear down below from anyone who is on the single journey or has been before on the single journey, and anything that you did to make it self-loving, anything that you're having a hard time with right now that maybe other people in the comments or myself could help you with. You know, just thoughts about being single and what it means and how to do it upright, you know. I will say for the record that, like, I don't know how much longer I'll be single for. It's not that I'm totally closed off to the idea of someone belting through into my life and wowing me and me just falling in love. Like, I'm not fearful of that, because I think that's not a good perspective to come at this from. It's not good to be fearful of that shit. You know, you've just got to be like, I'm just coasting and I'm just doing my thing and I'm dedicated to me and I'm married to me. That's what these tattoos are about, by the way. I have 2 wedding rings. So, you know, it's not like that. And I find it interesting to meet people and have flirtation, and that's nice, you know. I'm a little bit more open to that now than I have been for the previous year or year and a half type of thing, when I was like totally not into that. I'm into that now. You know, I like a flirtation, it's nice. But I am not looking for anything, and I actually think it would be inconvenient if I met this person right now, like tomorrow, and I was just like, oh my god, they are just like everything in a bag of Skittles. I'd be like, no, I'm not ready, I haven't done all my things, you know. So that's a good sign. That shows that I'm enjoying this part of the journey. So let me know down below, hit me up, let me know what you think. If you are not subscribed, please get subscribed. There are people watching my channel on a regular basis that are not bloody well subscribed, okay? And also there are some people who are being unsubscribed because YouTube is a weird little bitch. And so I'm sorry about that. I did not unsubscribe you. Please make sure you are subscribed if you were before. Please like this video if you appreciated the content. It does appease the algorithm gods, and I'm gonna have to start resorting to human sacrifice if I can't appease them in the usual way. If you want to join my Patreon, go down below, watch the video over on Patreon, which will explain to you what I offer over there. There's lots of private goodies, secret things, and ways to get involved with me outside of YouTube. I do sell readings, sessions, mentoring, all that good jazz. If you think it's time to work with me, go over to my online store. I will leave the link down below as always. Much love, darlings, and blessed be. Mwah.